So I'm calling your church to test to see if they are willing to help feed a starving baby. So right now I'm about to call First Baptist Church in Corbin, Kentucky. And it says we are a Christ-centered, service-oriented family of faith who remains linked to Baptist roots while learning to live graciously in an ever-changing world. Let's see if they are willing to help feed a starving baby, though.
First Baptist Church.
Hi, yes, I was calling to see if y'all could help with baby formula at all.
I'm sorry?
I was calling to see if y'all could help with baby formula. I have a 2-month-old and she's been out since yesterday, and I'm just trying to find somebody that can help her.
No, we don't typically have baby goods here, and certainly not formula that I'm aware of in our food pantry. You might try Central Baptist Church.
Yeah, I've already called them.
Okay, I started to say I don't think they do formulas. But no, ma'am, I don't even know where to refer you.
Okay. It's not something y'all could get and I could just pick it up?
No.
Okay. All right. I just want to let you know that I am doing a social experiment, so I actually don't have a crying baby and don't have a need. I'm actually just calling churches to see which ones would feed a starving baby. So yeah, I just want to let you know that.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's very much needed, and we do what we can. We have a White Flag ministry that feeds the homeless people. We have a food pantry that's opened every week that helps feed, but now I don't think that baby formula is an item that is made available here by us on a regular basis.
Okay. Personally, I just feel churches that are pro-life, that should be something that they should definitely consider offering in the future.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay. Well, I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. That was awkward. I don't like telling them. It's different when, like, they agree to it and they want to help, but it's definitely like, you failed. I'm sorry. I am glad they have a food pantry, but why would you, of all things, not have formula for babies? Like, I think that's crazy. But, hopefully this brings awareness and change. I am calling your church to test to see if they are willing to help feed a starving baby.
This woman is going viral for calling up churches saying that my baby is starving, I've run out of formula, can you help me? All of the churches say no, except so far 2 black churches and 1 mosque. And I don't want to sell this, but this feels to me like our selling of indulgences moment, where in the late medieval period, the church was selling indulgences, the bishops were living very lavishly, they were building these really, grand cathedrals, and the poor were starving. And it was very much part of the Reformation and kind of the decline of the power of the church because they were dressed in gold and people are starving. To the point where if you were just an average person, if you supported the church, it became embarrassing. You support that? That's so embarrassing for you. I'm embarrassed for you. So now we're in a situation where people are being affected by the government shutdown, and here's the chance for the churches. This is the deal that we made you, that you don't have to pay taxes, and in return, you're doing soup kitchens, you're doing, homeless stuff, you're doing addiction recovery, you're doing, you are providing service to the community. That's the deal that we made. And it's very clear, and love her videos going viral here, that it's very clear that you have not held up your end of the deal. So there is something here. I'm feeling a vibe here. It's like the combination of the Wall Street Journal article that shows that the Mormon Church has billions of dollars. It's an investment wing. Not a single dollar of it goes to humanitarian aid. Not a single dollar of it goes to taxes. And then, people calling churches and they just saying, we can't help you. That's not what we do. And then you combine that with kind of a blue wave. We're starting to see some fractures with this power dynamic of church and state and Christian nationalism. And historically, why this is exciting for me, I got super excited when I kind of saw her going viral, is historically when trust breaks, the public demands either reform or kind of punishment. It's essentially her calling churches saying, you claim moral authority, prove it, and then kind of hanging up on her. This happened even in Spain in the 20th century, where the church was hoarding. They had collected all of the land and they were hoarding the land and a significant amount of wealth. And they got enough public support that the state was able to basically force sell-offs of the church and basically say, no, this land belongs to the public now. We may be a long way from true reform. In France, for example, they actually removed the tax-exempt status from Jehovah's Witnesses and also like retroactively taxed them, which was really interesting. We may be a long way from that because when religion combines with politics, that marriage, it's just so powerful that it takes a long time in order to break that marriage up. But we're seeing some cracks, and I think it's positive.
Family, there's a video trending online right now of a white lady who was calling churches to ask for assistance over her kid who she was claiming lacked formula. And funnily enough, many churches, she called up to 30 churches, and most of them were actually reluctant to help. Some of them gave excuses and mentioned other churches who they thought could offer that kind of help. Funny enough, only 2 churches accepted the offer, and the churches that accepted to support the child were only black churches, with another mosque, a Muslim, who accepted to come through for the child. Funny enough, it was only a social experiment, and many churches did not discover that she was playing a sound, of a baby crying in the background, and not that could be able to trigger these churches to offer support. This has caused a lot of drama online. Different churches have reacted, to that social test, while many Americans have also questioned their churches for even not offering the help. Family, I want you to watch this video as we debunk this topic in a deeper way. Once the video is done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this video together, family.
This lady called 20 churches and told these churches that she has a starving baby that hasn't eaten in a whole day. And maybe 17 churches out of those 20 churches told her that's not their problem. She needs to go find food for her baby somewhere else. Mind you, 2 black churches and 1 mosque was the only churches and mosques that said, you know what, we'll help you. You ain't hear what I said, right? It's a woman on this app that's testing these churches in Kentucky that y'all going to. It's around the holiday seasons. A lot of people is donating money to churches, but our church is helping those people out. And apparently that answer is no. Mind you, if you jump down that rabbit hole and you look at those videos, in the background while she's calling these people, she's having a baby noise that's screaming, crying. So these people really think that this baby is hungry, and they are not feeding this baby. They are not, and they're not trying to help this lady at all. Only 3 of those churches say, come on in, we'll help you. 2 African American churches and 1 mosque. That says a lot. Mind you, these churches be getting a lot of money. These churches take tithes every month. These churches take donations every Sunday, maybe more. And when somebody calls for help, they're not helping. That says a lot. Jump down that rabbit hole. All you got to do is just click that search bar. You'll be able to see exactly what I saw.
So I just watched a pastor's response to the video of the lady who is doing the Lord's work and calling around all of these cosplaying Christian churches and exposing them for who they really are by basically performing a social experiment to see if they will feed a newborn. And this is a pastor who I would say probably is more along the lines of a progressive sort of pastor. But the thing about performative progressivism is that people really do show who they really are when it comes to how they are going to be impacted by something. And essentially what he said was that the churches are responding the way in which they are responding because they get scammed all the time. Well, vulnerable people get scammed by churches all the time. Vulnerable people get used, their testimonies, their stories, all of that stuff gets used by churches to help promote their mission work and get tithes in. But you know what? You know who doesn't receive any sort of funding or pay for getting up there and talking about how they went through a journey of sobriety and all of those things and how the church helped them? You know who doesn't receive a dime of that money? That person who's standing up there in their own vulnerability, sharing their story. And they're the person that could probably use it the most. And then he says that the answer shouldn't be to tax churches, because churches, the tax dollars that they would contribute would then go to the military, and the military does war things. I mean, I about spit out my coffee because I'm sitting here listening to this guy and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, yeah, no shit. But first of all, our tax dollars do not go to the military. What they go to is contractors. They go to contractors who, frankly, use and abuse the system to balloon up a DOD budget that is insane. But the same military, the folks that are in, that serve, live in rundown housing, all right? The bases are awful. Housing on bases is shit. I have friends whose children have lead poisoning because of the fact they live on military bases and how shitty military base housing is. So it doesn't go to the military. It goes to the contractors. So that's point one. Second of all, like, yeah, no shit, like nobody else, we don't want our tax dollars going to funding that shit either. That is another TikTok for another day, because I used to be a former Department of Defense federal contractor, and my work in that industry led me to have a total career shift and become a social worker. So the truth of the matter, the truth that, Pastor Daddy, that you don't want to hear, is that churches have no problem taking money from the vulnerable, but when the vulnerable come calling, they close their doors. And the reason you don't want to hear that is because of something called moral injury. Because you think that you can wrap this in some weird little moral God complex and say, look at us, our church has a food pantry. No. The real issue is, why are you all, as Christian leaders, not holding each other accountable? And just because you don't like how the truth sounds because you sound like the bad guy, it doesn't make it less true.
If you have a problem with that lady calling these churches and not actually needing any assistance, rather than the churches not helping, you're a part of the problem. You are a part of the problem, and we need to continue talking about this. I see everyone calling this the greatest social experiment ever. I'm going to put an addendum or an asterisk on there and call it investigative journalism. Like, we are uncovering some stuff that if you've never really been in a position to ask or seek support or resources from your religious organization and wherever that is, then you may not know that this is actually how some of these places operate. A lot of these places operate. And then to know that while we, as people, as individuals, as citizens, get taxed and hope that our taxes are going back into our communities for those same social services and supports that would help those who need it, to know that we as individuals are getting taxed and they as organizations are not, it's a problem. It's a problem that I think we've known existed for a very long time. The difference now is that we have the power of social media, if we use it correctly, to actually say, like, hey, we're pulling your card, we're calling your bluff, or whatever the case is. Where's the money going? Y'all collecting all this money every week, passing the plate. Some churches even got the QR codes or the tap to the, what is it, the NFC? I don't want to say NFC sounds. I know NFC's football, so I don't think the chip that you could tap and then it just pulls up. Yeah, y'all are eager to collect the money, but it feels like y'all are not eager to dish out some of the money that you collected for those who are in need. And then to add a further point to that, for some of these churches that are saying we can't help you because you're not a member of our church, how do you think that's going to make the actual members of your churches feel? Those who actually believe that they are supposed to help thy neighbor, regardless of whether or not thy neighbor believes in the same stuff that they believe in. This is, I appreciate her for taking the time to do this And I would hope that the churches that have been quote unquote exposed, for lack of better words, I would hope that now they take a different approach in how they support those who are in need, regardless of whether or not they're members of their church. The process in receiving that aid for people, because I've also been hearing stories about it taking a ridiculously egregious amount of time for people to receive support. When the church is slower than social services in helping give out social services, we need to reassess how we not classify those organizations, but how we treat those organizations. I, for one, tax them. Tax them. Where's the money going? Where's the money going? Where's the money at, LaShandra? Tax them.
Christians and churches are responding after a woman went viral for calling churches asking for baby formula for her starving baby, and most of them turned her down. And what some of them are saying is absolutely wild. One church said what that woman is doing is evil and even compared it to witchcraft. He said this woman is a liar, she is indulging in trickery, she has the spirit of a witch, and if she comes near our church, she will be dealt with swiftly. This church, who also turned her down over the phone, said if a mother in need was at the doors of our church, raise your hand if you would help her. And when a majority of the people raised their hands, he said that's the only social experiment that I need. And this pastor of another church who also turned her down said that we are not obligated to help in a situation like this, and the only reason the mosque did is because they're obligated to by their faith. He said they get hundreds of scam calls and people wanting money, and they can't prove that she's actually in need. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Family, from this social experiment, there is a lot that we ought to learn as human beings. Myself, I thought that the church is the highest institution that would offer help in times of calamities, in times where problems, are as serious as the one of a kid who does not have formula. How you understand how important that is in the life of the kid. But many churches, sorted to say no, to these help that this mother was trying to ask from churches. She even went ahead to put up a sound of a kid crying in the background, but that did not trigger most of these churches to offer help. Why is it that only 2 churches accepted to help her? And these 2 churches are black churches. We've seen many people react online, including many churches, and some churches went on to say that lady's act is an act of a witch. Some other pastor mentioned to his congregants how many of them were willing to help. And some of the congregants, raised their hands. And he went ahead to say that is a social experiment. That is what he accepts to be a social experiment, not somebody lying, talking about how they need help, instantly. But when they are told no, they come up, and put the details of the church outside there. She says that's the pastor says that's an act, that she can say is from a witch. And family, different churches are reacting online, and many people are learning from this situation. Many people are questioning their churches, asking them, why couldn't they stretch, to support? Why couldn't they ask some of the congregants to come through for this lady? Why could they not spare funding, that is meant for that to come and help them? Some other churches also mentioned that the lady was not a member of their church and she did not qualify to get support, even after hearing a child cry in the background. Some other people are questioning and asking, why is it that a black church is the only church that offered, to help the 2 black churches? Why is it black churches? Why is it not white churches offering to help this lady? Funnily enough, people are now attributing black churches to closeness in terms of calamities to helping people. Because why didn't the white churches offer help? Funny enough, from her accent, you can already tell that she's a white lady. That's not an accent from a black person. But the funny thing is that even the churches, of her race were not ready to support her. That shows you how black people are always willing, especially black people in the church, are always willing to offer support in times of need. And this has brought a lot of debate online. People are questioning the motives of this lady, even doing the social test. Some are saying that that is unacceptable and it's something that she should not be doing. But to me, I see these as an eye-opener, to open eyes, to spiritual leaders to consider helping people. There is no church that could consider from all those 30 churches to help this lady instantly. Only 2 black churches saw it worth to come through for the lady. Funny thing is, the only mosque that was called, came through. They were ready to offer support. They wanted details of hers, even in this time that is very, very crazy. Family, the timing is even as crazy. We are in November and there is no food stamps approved for the month of November. Even with that in mind, many churches were not ready to offer support. They know very, very well that it's a difficult time. Out of all those 30 churches in Kentucky, only 2 offered to assist. Family, that is just showing, a lot of questions are coming up in many people's minds. Why is it that churches, want to put up issues like membership, when it comes to assisting? Why didn't the mosque, ask those details? They were ready to help when they heard that a child was lacking formula. Why is it that the churches want to ask you many questions and say that they cannot help you if you're not a member of their church? Some are even, asking you to call other churches which they think could offer support. You wonder what is the work of the church in the society today. Family, this is raising a lot of questions as to why is it that the mosque was ready to assist instantly while the churches were struggling, to offer assistance. This is one of the questions that many Americans are asking. This is coming in a time where the cost of living is so high. Many Americans know how putting food on the table today in America is very, very crazy. For somebody to be that vulnerable, to even call and ask for assistance, what would you do as a church? In a time like this, in a time of crisis, there are no SNAP benefits for the month of November. There is a lot at stake that would trigger the church to look for ways that they could assist the lady. Even if the church does not have the funding, to ensure that happens, they could ask their congregants. There's a lot of ways that the church can actually be able to help somebody, in this day and time. You can do block messages to your congregants. You can ask for assistance during a fellowship. God works in many different ways. God manifests in different people, when it comes to matters helping. But when we see the church neglect, that is an issue that is actually beyond whatever the institution of the church is taken. Because many a times people think that having a church is where they can be able to go and find assistance spiritually and even in our physical world. Family, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the action of different churches in regards to helping the white lady, find the formula for her kid. And I'd really, really appreciate. Kindly like the video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users. Lastly, I'd really appreciate if you all took your time to subscribe to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers. And guys, I want to thank you all for the milestone. We just hit 32,000 subscribers and I do not take that for granted. Family, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. I do not take your support for granted. See you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.